I've been trying to kind of figure out why nobody talking about this. Normally, these kind of things, usually my father sees it first, and always like we will like talk about these kind of issues, and he has not tell me anything about this. We tell me other incidents and stuff, but not this. So he's a man who was basically watching news and stuff like that, and personally me haven't seen any real big report about it, and nobody really talking about this, because I find it weird that nobody talking about this, even the earthquake as well. But this another disaster. So it was an explosion that happened in Palestine, Ohio. I had so much trouble looking for it because I was actually looking in Palestine instead of Palestine in Ohio. So it was a little confused for me when I was searching this up. Now this thing happened on 3rd of February, and so far, as I say, I haven't seen any big major news site. Well, they talk about it, but it's not promoted. As you're not seeing it no way. It's very, very kind of hush hush and stuff like that, so you're barely seeing it whatsoever. Now I just kind of want to talk about it to get more people aware of it. So I have like 2 videos here from one person I interviewed, one of the persons who was working on this project or whatever, and he was warning them about it and they fired him. Well, he didn't say it in the video, but that was the whole just said. He was laid off because he was giving them a little pushback and said, yo, this is very dangerous what you're doing, because it was downscaling the company and upscaling the work. So less people, more work. I actually had to deal with that a few years ago, where there was downscaling the work and downscaling the people on the job and upscaling the work, and that was hell. If anyone knows about that, that is hell to work in, because you have so little manpower and the amount of work you have to do and the time, and they're giving you time to do such, and it's very, very, very stressful. So I'm feeling sorry for these workers as well, families in this area and whatnot. So let's go straight into the thing. I'll like show the videos where they talk about it.
Rail workers warned us about disaster like this. I heard firsthand months ago about the corporate practice of precision scheduled railroading.
Precision scheduled railroading is shorter staff, longer hours, longer trains, less safety, less maintenance. Do I have all that right?
Oh, you got it all right. I
Okay.
mean, a lot of the derailments that you're seeing on national TV is one of a few things. It's lack of maintenance on the track, where they've cut the track gangs too short and they can't get out to fix it, or they've cut the carmens, which is the union that works on the rail cars. So we had one derailment here in Northeast Ohio where a wheel flange was very thin. It picked a switch and derailed the entire train. Luckily, it was full of candle wax and not something highly volatile.
Rail workers tried to strike over this stuff, but were stopped by Congress. A few weeks later, and here we are. Several Norfolk Southern cars of toxic, highly volatile chemicals exploded fantastically in the tiny town of East Palestine, Ohio.
Looks like a faulty bearing caused a catastrophic derailment. These railroads are turning profits hand over fist. They've cut their workforce to bare bones, and now they're paying the price for it because the wheels are falling off the train, basically. Carmen were inspecting cars about 3 minutes per car. That's always been the industry standard. Now it's 90 seconds per car.
Is that because of PSR?
Yes, it's a rush job right now. And these guys are under pressure. I mean, they're working men and women, and, you know, if they don't hurry up and get this car done, they're going to be fired.
Great points. So I went to a press conference with Norfolk Southern and Ohio Governor Mike DeWine to ask them about this.
What could precision scheduled railroad have to do with the axle failure that caused the derailment?
I have no idea that it's a mechanical issue. Precision scheduled railroading is a management process.
Not a great answer, and that's probably because Norfolk Southern let a worker take the fall, rather than a single corporate executive showing up in the town that they polluted to be held accountable. You see, Wall Street owns Norfolk Southern. 74% of shares are owned by a who's who of infamous hedge funds, and this is the business model that they demand. Profit at any cost. And disaster like this is simply a cost of doing business. They cut everything, make all the money, and pay off disasters in tiny flyover towns from the profit. But instead of answering for any of that, they're betting that the corporate media, under the same pressure for extreme profit as railroads, will only ask questions about how much cancer people will get and not why this preventable disaster happened.
So one thing I would say that kind of worrisome, very feeling sorry for the people in this area, is the weather. Because as I'm about to show you in this next video, where this guy talks about what it is happening with the chemical that goes up into the atmosphere, and if it rains, it will be basically acid rain. And don't think, I was looking at the weather report, and I don't think like a heavy shower has fallen yet, and it already has been killing animals and stuff. People are losing their livestock and stuff like that, even though they're evacuating, and some people, pets and stuff, like falling down and dying. They're saying they're going outside and they find it very hard to breathe and stuff like that. So even though they evacuated, they still have issues with like health, because you know that's a very dangerous chemical, and you had to breathe that in that area, and the kind of very, it's still hush hush about evacuating, and in a sense that it's not the treating it as take a little time, I'll be fine, I'll go and die and stuff like that. And yeah, they need to take that a little more serious.
This hasn't been getting a lot of coverage, and the coverage that it has been getting hasn't been very good. So let's talk about the trail derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. East Palestine's about an hour north of Pittsburgh, almost halfway to Cleveland. Norfolk Southern has a rail line that goes right through town, and this derailment happened right on the edge outside of town on the border of PA and Ohio. Of the cars that crashed, 5 of them contained vinyl chloride. It's a monomer used to make PVC. The reporting on this has gotten vinyl chloride confused with polyvinyl chloride, the polymer made out of vinyl chloride. Now, the reason that this distinction is really important is vinyl chloride is very hazardous and very flammable. Polyvinyl chloride is a plastics that's used in like everything. The other thing about vinyl chloride is that it boils at 8 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's shipped in its liquid form. Meaning that when these trains crashed and these started leaking, they weren't just leaking liquid, but they were spewing boiling gas. So vinyl chloride is really toxic. OSHA has the permissible limit of how much you can be exposed to it during an 8-hour shift as a 1 ppm part per million, average over 8 hours. So prior to this, the biggest spill of this chemical was in New Jersey, where 1 train car and about 23,000 gallons of vinyl chloride were spilled, but it didn't catch on fire. Now, this crash in Ohio has 5 train cars. These kinds of tanker cars can carry between 25 and 33,000 gallons. Let's call it 250 to 250,000 pounds of vinyl chloride. That's per train car, 5 train cars. There's maybe 1 million pounds of this toxic chemical spilling into the ground and also boiling off into the air. But then it caught on fire. I think this is where the reporting is really bad, because no one is mentioning what the byproduct of vinyl chloride burning is. Of the many byproducts of burning vinyl chloride, one of them is hydrogen chloride. Hydrogen chloride is really unstable and latches onto water, like just water vapor in the atmosphere, and that turns into hydrochloric acid. So right now, government officials from the railroad, both the governor of Pennsylvania and Ohio, are calling burning off the 1 million pounds of this stuff a success, but not mentioning that it means that we have hundreds of thousands of pounds of acid in the air, potentially. Now, ever since engineering school, I've studied a lot of industrial accidents. I just find it really fascinating, and organizations like the Chemical Safety Board, NTSB, and OSHA all have like really good reports available to the public. I think as a designer, it's really good to learn about mistakes. When looking at these kinds of industrial disasters across time, there are a couple things that are pretty universal across all of them. 1, the responsible party, in this case, Norfolk Southern Railway, always plays down the reality of the situation. Politicians also just repeat the same lines, and then news outlets just repeat the same. So all we're hearing is the responsible party's word.
Now, as this person said in that video, it is absolutely dangerous. And I'll see if I find like some as credible as possible source to like help these people out, because that is, I wouldn't pray that on nobody to happen to, because it's very sickening that the people there barely getting aid, because it's something that could have been prevented. As the first video I showed, the man was saying, yeah, There's poor maintenance of the equipment and stuff like that, and the train and thing. So it was a preventable for the most part, because I mean, if you're maintaining something, if it do happen, it will then fully be an accident or an incident. I never remember the difference between the two. So if something like that did happen, it would have been more of that instead of poor management and people just want to full and line the pockets with money or as much as possible, because the saying, it's running back so much money into other companies, and it's basically a gold mine and stuff like that. So yeah, pray for the people in Palestine, Ohio. I don't know why the media is not talking about it, because I had to look, and I mean had to search to find this. I had to go so deep to find this news, because normally these things all over plastered all over Twitter, and where the environmentalists, where Greta? I just want these people to step in and fix the situation, and for the people to be able to live and function properly again, because that is people's lives you're playing with, and companies should be fully held responsible for these things, accountable. So yeah, I'll try to find and see if there's any aid for them right now, any companies or places doing any aid for them. I'll link it down below, and yeah, see you in the next video, and peace.